Anybody from the public who would like to speak on a non-agenda item? Mr. Adrian.
Good evening, Adrian, Ward 1. So for the public who may not look at the packets, the packet tonight includes a 3-page document rationale drafted by Councilor Demars, who owns a local integrated computer services company. The rationale explains why it would be in the city's interest to consider switching from internal IT services to outsource contract. And I want to say I think it is completely logical that a counselor that specializes in IT services would want to speak to this area, given that he or she is arguably the best person with the insight and the expertise to do so. I find that completely understandable and rational. And at the same time, I think that also when Mr. Councilor Demars opens his document by referencing his company's contract with Sullivan County and other municipalities and school districts, he may be simply establishing his qualifications on the subject, which it appears to be the case. That said, the situation here poses valid concerns at the very minimum about the optics. If Councilor Demars, 1 month after swearing into the seat, bringing forth a proposal to outsource contracts to IT services, a company which he owns. Councilor Demars has also indicated when interviewing that he may not intend to run again, that he was just testing it out. And I imagine that the public is also going to note the fact that Councilor Demars and City Manager Ed Morris had a professional working relationship when CCI Managed Services was providing, and I believe still provides, IT services to Wethersfield. Again, this is solely about the optics. I'm not making any assertion that there's anything wrong here by having a discussion. I'm not making any insinuations, just laying that out. I just have 3 questions that I don't expect. I mean, I would entertain to be answered by individual counselors or the council as a whole at some point, preferably tonight. 3 questions. 1, for Councilor Demars: should this council decide during this year to switch to an outside contractor, would you submit a bid? Even if you were no longer on the council, would you still plan to submit a bid? Second question: if so, would the city still consider CCI's bid under the circumstances? Also, I don't know, would the city be obligated to consider the bid? Because I know there's certain kind of limitations on and rules for what cities and municipalities are supposed to consider when looking at the bids. And the last question would be if Councilor Demars intends to recuse himself from a potential vote on this proposal should one transpire. And that would be it. Thank you.
You want to say something?
I would, yeah. Thank you, Patrick. You're right. The optics are a concern, and I thought about that when I put this document together. My motive for making this suggestion is no different than my motive for looking at all of the other areas in which the city may or may not be able to generate more efficiencies and hopefully create an environment where we can put more money into capital improvements, which have been deferred and delayed and unfunded or minimally funded for many years. In particular, I've made a bit of a mission on the roads this year. And so this is an area where I do have a depth of knowledge. It's an area where I understand more clearly than I do in most of the other areas of the budget how it works. because I do this type of work. I offer these services to other municipalities, and I've seen the impact of what this looks like versus what's typically possible when you are dealing with a small staff of full-time people that have limited resources. And there are some inherent efficiencies that come from that. So to your questions, first of all, I would be more than happy to make a public pledge right now that I am at no point interested in bidding on a contract with the city of Claremont to provide IT services. And I will adhere to that for not less than 5 years. As long as I own my company, I will not bid on a city contract for IT services for not less than 5 years. And you can put that in the newspaper. Because that's not my motive. My motive, as I said, is to hopefully see the city of Claremont do what it can to be as financially efficient as possible. And again, this is an area where I see an opportunity to do that. That's the thrust of the question. Would I recuse myself? I don't see a reason to recuse myself. If I'm not interested in the business, what conflict exists, I don't understand. So no, I would not.
Here. So I just want to put it out there that, I don't know Mr. Demars really from anyone, but I will tell you, it says right here at the end of this actual document, I want to be absolutely clear that when my company does this work, I'm not interested in doing it here. So that addresses one of the questions to me. The second one would be, he's not the first one to bring up IT questions, even though he's in that field. There's a public document of me asking a list of questions. I didn't like the first round of answers that I received, and I publicly stated that at a meeting sitting here, and then we got a follow-up list of answers. So it's not the first time IT has come into question, and there were other departments included, so.
Okay,